Hello, today we're going to talk real quickly about patterns of inheritance. We've talked about autosomal recessive, autosomal dominant, and now we're going to talk about sex linked. So we know that humans have 23 pairs of chromosomes. Like I said, the first 22 pairs are called the autosomes. They do not determine a person's sex. The 23rd pair of chromosomes are referred to as allosomes or sex chromosomes, and they determine which individual will be physiologically male or female. Genetic disorders can be classified based on whether the gene is located on the autosomes or the allosomes, whether the disorder is dominant or recessive trait. So most genetic disorders fall into one of three inheritance patterns, like I had mentioned earlier: autosomal dominant, autosomal recessive, or sex linked. Autosomal dominant disorders are caused by a mutated or faulty dominant allele on an autosome. If the individual has the condition, at least one of their parents have to have it, because they would have gotten that gene from their parent, unlike a recessive where they're carriers. A dominant, right? A dominant gene is expressed. So their parents have to have it. So you'll see this in every generation, unless they're heterozygous and they happen to be lucky and not have a child that is normal. So some examples of this is neurofibromatosis, and it's like, if you look that up, it's really bad. It's like they get these tumors all over their body. It's especially on their face. We talked about, and in lab, we talk about achondroplastic dwarfism, and then there's a fibrilin disease, and that has to do with, fibrilin has to do with clotting, and then Huntington's disease. We talked about Huntington's disease also in lab. So again, if you have the big A, it doesn't matter if you have one or two, you have it, because it is a dominant disorder. The only way you can be normal is if you are homozygous recessive. Autosomal recessive disorders, the gene is located, the faulty allele is on the recessive gene. So heterozygous individuals will not display the disorder, but they are considered carriers because they have that recessive allele that they can pass to their offspring. And of course, if both parents are carriers, then they have a 25% chance of their child having that recessive disorder. We talked about in lab cystic fibrosis, a little bit about sickle cell anemia, Tay-Sachs, and PKU. And so again, they're normal. It's this individual, that the homozygous recessive, that will show or display or express that faulty gene or mutation. Now, sex linked, or we talk about sex linked, there's the X and the Y chromosome, and here we're just going to talk about the X chromosome, abnormalities found on the X chromosome. And so again, that's the 23rd pair, or the allosomes. And so physiologically, males are, we look at their chromosomes, males are XY, females have two X's. This is where, when we write these down, we have to use our X's and Y's. You should not have anything on that Y chromosome, because everything we're studying here is an X linked disorder. So you need to show what gene is on the X, and you'll do so using superscripts. So, for example, what they're saying here is in humans, in vitamin D resistant rickets, and they're saying that this particular gene is dominant over the functional gene. So if it's dominant, that means these two are, even though they're a carrier, they're affected to be normal. They would be little a, and not all X-linked genes are dominant. This is just the one we're showing. And then we have also X-linked recessive, which again, normal, they have the normal gene because the dominant is normal. This is where they're effective. And this is where we can talk about like red-green color blindness, hemophilia, and muscular dystrophy. These disorders, again, we see much higher in males and females, because males, they're not carriers. They either have it or they don't, and they only have one opportunity of getting a healthy gene. Same with over here, right? They either have it or they don't. So they can't really be carriers either. So that's the same in both situations with the male genotype. And that is all I have for you. And we did a lot of practice problems in the lab. And then hopefully I do have practice problems in Canvas. I hope this lecture was helpful, and I will see you in the next set of videos.